All right, Brian Wheeler, Antonio Harvey, joined on Trailblazers Courtside by Blazers assistant coach Jay Triano. And, Coach, I was just wondering before we went to break if you as a coach are able to sit back, you clinch a playoff spot, you get a 50th win last night. Are you able to reflect yet on what a great season it's been to this point in time? Or as a coach, are you just too engaged in the day-to-day activities, getting ready for a practice tomorrow and another game on Wednesday? And will it maybe only be till after the season that you can kind of reflect back on all the good things that have happened?
Well, we reflect a little bit on it. I mean, obviously it's a good feeling to have the spot in the playoffs clinched and to have a 50-win season. But that lasted about 10 minutes after the game, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, now who do we have, and what do we have to do to finish up with these last four, and what are some of the possibilities of how far we can go with this, and how we want to be playing when the playoffs do start. So it's it felt good, and it feels good today, but we still have a lot of work to do, and by no means is this team satisfied.
Coach, you mentioned how this team is playing as you go into the playoffs. Obviously, getting LaMarcus back after that slide that the team was on has been tremendous. But how do you feel like the team is playing right now?
Antonio, I think it's still work in progress. I didn't think we had a very good first half. I think maybe the game against Phoenix set us back a little bit, but there's a part of us that feels, our very first game of the year when we got beat by Phoenix, that kind of started us. It was like a wake-up call for us, and that may be the same thing after winning 4 in a row and playing the Suns. We maybe feeling too good about ourselves, and a little slap in the face like that. And, it was nice to bounce back. It took till the second half last night to get it done, but. I think that this team, when our backs are against the wall, and whether it's a fourth quarter or we get down in a game, that's when this team kind of plays its best. So, we can't relax, and we know that we're going to be in tough games, and the games that down the stretch are going to mean something, and they have. You talk about LaMarcus being back; that's been a huge factor for us. And, obviously the points that he scores, but he anchors our defense as well. And I think, some of our players that we've been commented about, our defense is better when LaMarcus is on the floor, and his activity and his ability to rebound the ball. That's where we need to be really, really sharp over the last 4. And then I think we'll feel better.
I thought it was encouraging last night, too, Coach, that you kind of hinted at it a little bit, that, the team gets a 50th win, clinches a playoff spot, and yet everybody in the locker room wasn't as if champagne corks were popping in the locker room or anything. I think the attitude seemed to be that, all right, this is one of the goals that we had before the season started, to make sure after missing the last couple of years that we get back to the postseason. But it sure sounded like it was a group of guys that felt there was still a lot more that could be accomplished, and some bigger goals still left to be attained that were out there, that this in no way indicated this was the pinnacle of this season just by getting to the playoffs.
Absolutely, Wills. I think, every time you have a goal and you reach it, the most important thing you can do is set another one. And, we said at the beginning of the year making the playoffs that we even said with a little asterisk beside it, we're not going to be satisfied with that. We want to make the playoffs, and now, we're in. But now we can affect how high we can finish in the standings, and we can also, make a run in the playoffs. And that's what the goal of this team is. And like I said, it's a resilient group. Playoff basketball is a little bit different, but I like, our starters have some experience in it. I like where we're going.
Coach, your starters, 4 out of your 5 starters have a little bit of playoff experience, but the most vital position, that point guard position, Damian Lillard doesn't have any playoff experience, doesn't have a lot of basketball experience as far as the NBA goes, and yet he's the kind of guy that you feel like you can put the ball in his hands and there's no amount of pressure that's going to get to him.
Yeah, I think we've seen that over his whole career so far. He likes the big moment. He gets fired up for games. I mean, he's a guy who he loves the game of basketball. So when you have an opportunity to play in the playoffs in your second year, I mean, he's going to relish this. And every time Damian gets fired up for a game, he usually has a really good one. So he's excited about where we are and what he's been able to help us do.
I remember Nick said after the Blazers had home court advantage in his first playoff series against Houston, and Houston came in here with some experience, and the at the time, Rose Garden was rabid. There had been a great playoff rally the day before with seemingly the entire city showing up. Everybody was revved up for the game on a Saturday afternoon, and the Rockets got a great early lead, and it was a disappointing day. There wasn't even any kind of a rally in terms of what happened that day. And Nick said afterwards, we thought we were ready, and then we found out that the playoffs are a whole different bag. I mean, for those fans who maybe don't understand that it isn't just game 163 and beyond, game 83 and beyond, once you get to the postseason, maybe you can just shed some light on how the playoffs take on a whole different atmosphere than what anything is experienced during the regular season.
Well, I think, one of the terms we've tried to use over the last 5 or 6 games is value every possession. And, I think that's probably the biggest thing in playoffs is that every possession is valued, and every possession is like, it's hard to get in 82 games, and there's possessions guys try to figure out if they're hot, if they've got it going on a certain night. But in playoff basketball, it comes right down to everything. Everything has to be almost perfect. The way that you pass the ball, the way you set screens and execute. And from a coaching perspective, it's different as well because you're not thinking, you're not an assistant coach who has a scout for the next game or 2 games down the road. All coaches are locked in and focused on one team. So, we'll be super prepared for that, and I think that's it. And then it's how do you execute counters, and I think that's where basketball IQ and the experience is going to be a factor. Is that how can we counter what we've done so far in the season and tweak it to be a little bit better in the postseason to maybe catch the team that we're playing off guard just enough to create an edge, and then that edge is the difference between the value of every possession. So it's a different basketball because no back-to-backs. If the games are being televised as they all are, they're longer timeouts, and the strategy involved day in day out. How often do you change? Do you feel good after one? You start playing the series even though you have to play one possession at a time.
Now, Coach, I got to ask because, I've been around the league now 20 years, and every year come playoff time, I hear the exact same thing. And it's almost a misnomer, an oxymoron to me. People talk about the game slowing down, and I agree that the game does slow down, but I think your term is better suited for the playoffs to me, and that's value every possession. This is a team that scores 106, 107 points a game. That's the way the team is designed. When people start slowing down, it almost seems like that would be counterintuitive to the Trailblazers.
Yeah, we're not going to try to slow things down. I think what happens, Antonio, in playoffs is that easy baskets. We count easy baskets as offensive rebounds and that are put back in or transition points. And I think teams pay better attention to their box-out schemes, and I think that they get back better in transition during the playoffs. Some teams thrive on it and haven't been able to be successful because I think everybody is more keyed in and they're back in transition. There's no excuse that you should probably do it all year, but, over time, habits are created, and I think this is the time when, you have to erase those bad habits because 2 or 3 mistakes like that can be the big difference in a game.
Have you ever seen such a disparity between the conferences as we look toward the playoffs? We're talking about the 8th seed in the East right now sitting at 34 wins. The 9th seed in the West is sitting at 45 wins with 5 to play. So potentially, if Memphis were to win out, they could have 50 wins, and it wouldn't even necessarily guarantee them a trip to the playoffs. The amount of imbalance between the 2 conferences, I'm not sure has ever been this dramatic.
I agree. We were laughing last night when we get win number 50 in clinch, and teams, I think it was 10 days ago in the East, were getting 40 in clinching, and it just didn't make sense to us. But I think the NBA it's cyclical like that, and things swing in one direction, and for us, we're in a very tough conference, but I also think it's made us play better basketball and concentrate better with the competition that we've had to play against.
As you look ahead to the week now, you had today off, light practice tomorrow. It's a nice luxury for you as a staff to be able to mix in some days off, some practice days, and also have some games to kind of fine-tune everything before you get to the playoffs.
Yeah, the schedule's working out in our favor right now, that's for sure. I think we went through a rough patch there in March, but over 82 games, things balance out, and we're ahead of the curve right now with 4 games left. Most teams have 5, and some have 6. But so we have no back-to-backs remaining, and it's good for us, and I think it's just the perfect amount of basketball as well, where we can stay sharp and be on the floor enough to stay sharp and have games to stay ready and not fatigue our players too much, as some teams may have to down the stretch, just fight for a seed or fight to get in.
Coach, thanks so much for the visit. Congratulations on 50 wins. Congratulations on securing a spot in the playoffs. Have a good day of practice tomorrow, and we'll see you on Wednesday for the matchup with the Kings here at the Moda Center.
Sounds great. Thanks very much, guys.
Blazer assistant Jay Triano joining us here on Trailblazers Courtside.